And action. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Rucker and Lucas Got Bored. Wow.
I'm Lucas. He's Rucker. Let's get this going.
We're fucking rolling with it. TV shows. I like TV.
Yeah, me too. It's one of my favorite pastimes, really.
You like sitcoms? I love sitcoms.
I do too.
The old, sitcoms today are pretty good. We get some good production value and everything, but I kind of miss on a set, canned laughter, multi-camera sitcoms like Full House, Family Matters. They kind of tried to bring that back with The Ranch on Netflix, which was like Full House, but with curses. And I really dug it.
Man, that was the first, I don't know. It's early on in the show. The first episode, maybe, first few scenes, maybe. There's this one scene where I think Ashton Kutcher is putting on some Uggs. That might be what it is. When he's putting on the Uggs, and Sam Elliott walks out and just goes, in his Sam Elliott voice, "What the fuck is that?"
Yeah.
And the laugh track plays. And hearing a laugh track following an F-bomb of all words, I don't know. It was just, it was very novel and not something I'd ever heard before, and it tickled the shit out of me.
Oh, I watched every episode. I was anticipating when they came out. I was even bummed when the one character died after getting kicked off the show for being a bad boy.
Yeah, that sucks so bad, man. Him and especially in that show, even more so than in that 70s show, him and Ashton Kutcher had such good chemistry.
They really did. You believed them as brothers.
Yeah. That other dude, he's good. Dax Shepard, he's really good. I like him in a lot of stuff, but they just didn't play off each other as well.
No, they really didn't. And I actually think that they started to embrace the fact that it didn't work by making them fight, but it's been a long time since I watched it.
Yeah. I didn't like the ending, mainly because it just didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a series finale or season finale, not really an ending to the show. It wasn't bad. It just didn't give me any closure.
The show Evil, which I've talked to you about a whole bunch of times. I absolutely love that show. And its final episode was just last week. And my God, did that not feel like a series finale at all? It felt like a mid-season finale where in 6 weeks we were going to pick up with the rest of the story. But no, that's over. Now the actors have said that it was left, open. So there's somebody like Netflix picks it up. They can continue with it, but it really felt like an anticlimax.
Yeah. I know you watched some of it. Did you watch all the Supernatural?
I did, every episode.
So I was watching, it was a list or something. Might have been a video I was watching, or it might have just been a ranker thing or something like that I saw the other day. And they were just talking about shows. I know it was on Reddit. It was on r/TV, I think. It was a list of shows with the worst rated season or series finales, and of course Game of Thrones was number 2. I don't remember what number 1 was. I was surprised it wasn't Game of Thrones, or maybe it was Game of Thrones. I don't know. Game of Thrones was real high, but then it got down towards the mid, in the teens, and it was a bunch of shows that I was like, really? And Supernatural was on there, and what the hell what did you want out of a season finale from Supernatural? I mean
honestly, I thought the ending to Supernatural was perfect.
I don't know. It could have been a little more epic, but honestly, I think the way it ended from a story perspective was better. And I'm rewatching it now. Dean references going out like that in episode 4, early on in the show. He basically says, "That's how I'm going to die," and he knows it. And him dying young and Sam living to be old was how it should. And then them meeting back up in heaven at the end is how it should fucking go.
I cried.
Yeah. Oh, talking about cry. Episode last night, me and the girlfriend watched. Bobby got shot in the head.
Oh.
So yeah, tonight's episode, it's the one where he's losing all of his memories. I believe is the following one.
Oh, yeah. That hurt me so bad.
Yeah. Ah, man. I knew it was this season that it happened, but I forgot how early in the show, because this is halfway, basically. This is episode 8 of season 7. So, then he comes back as a ghost and then he's gone. I think they see him in heaven at one point in season 10 or 11, but he's effectively gone from the show after this. And it's halfway through. There's 7 more seasons.
I think one of my favorite episodes of the whole show was the one episode that was him just like doing all the stuff, like all the work that everyone else counts on him doing.
Yep. And then he goes off on the boys. Yeah. Yeah. That
was also the work that got left to him, was to be basically raise those two boys.
And then they go and grab Crowley's bones. Yeah, that's a really good one too. Also, the one where Rufus shows up and is like, "I need you to help me hide a body," and then the fucking Japanese thing, I forget what it is, isn't dead because he only stabbed it 6 instead of 7 times. And then and he goes and attacks his neighbor, and Ruggs is like, "So you just happen to have whatever dagger blessed by a Shinu priest or whatever the fuck it is?" And he's like, "No, wood chipper." Wood chipper does beat everything.
Yeah.
Oh man, there's so many good. Like, I think the show's really good overall, but there's so many good like little parts like that just make it chef's kiss. Like, it makes all the bad parts okay.
Yeah, I love when stuff brings in a dynamic that is sort of juxtaposed to the rest of the themes of the show. Like a Supernatural, it's all about monster hunting, and then they go and do like a Scooby-Doo episode or something like that. Fuck, I had a point.
No, you're wrong. Supernatural, Fast and Furious ripped them off because it's all about family.
Yes, I remember what I was going to say. I like when shows incorporate a family dynamic and really make a big point of it in areas that you wouldn't expect. One of my favorite examples of that is the Devil's Rejects.
Yeah.
The whole ice cream thing, Tutti fucking fruity. I actually had Bill Moseley. He signed my Devil's Rejects poster. There is no ice cream in your future.
Nice. That movie is amazing. There's not much else for me to say about that. Like, House of a Thousand Corpses was good, but it was missing something.
It was like an art film instead of a horror film. Like,
Yeah.
it was definitely a horror film, but it wasn't. It was a music video more so than a movie. Like, a lot of it just didn't make any sense. Whereas the Devil's Rejects was a very grounded, realistic movie.
Here's what it was, in my opinion. Here's an analogy. House of a Thousand Corpses. You know how when like a new video game's about to come out, like a big launch, and they'll put out a tech demo, and it's not really the game, but it's showing you what the game can be, like all of its potential just melted, but it's missing like the glue to hold it all together. That was House of a Thousand Corpses, and Devil's Rejects was Borderlands 2. Like, it was the full complete story that the first one was teasing you with, and it was awesome.
3 from Hell was Borderlands, the pre-sequel. Still pretty good, but not as good.
I haven't seen that.
I saw it actually it was supposed to be a double feature, but they screwed us, so we got a full refund on it. But we got in the theater and they played the 3 from Hell first, and we were like, oh, I guess they'll play Devil's Rejects after. And then they just never played it. And at the theater, they didn't even know it was supposed to be a double feature. It was an event sold by like Fandango or Phantom or whatever one of those events was, and the movie theater just had no idea that it was supposed to happen.
So what is 3 from Hell? Like, I haven't heard of it actually.
Oh, 3 from Hell is the sequel to Devil's Rejects. So it is Baby, Otis, and a third guy on the run because Sid Haig unfortunately was too sick to make the full movie. He still has one really good scene in it, and the third guy is played by Richard Brake, who is. Did you see the Doom movie with the Rock? He was Portman, the really gross guy.
Okay.
So he plays another one. I think he is a brother, but just like a step brother or half brother or something like that. But it's them on the run, and they go down to Mexico and run into some bad people down there, and everything doesn't go well.
I have seen this. I think I might have been drunk and then forgot it existed. But I remember this.
Yeah, so it was a downgrade, like pre-sequel, but not as far of a downgrade as Borderlands 3 was.
Yeah, I mean, I actually think Borderlands 3 was better than the pre-sequel, but that's a whole different. What is 31 and Lords of Salem? Just
unrelated Rob Zombie horror movies.
Yeah, I'm seeing them there on the IMDb page. I need to go back and rewatch this thing. Do remember it though. I know I definitely saw it.
I remember one of them. I think it might have been Lords of Salem, or it was one of those two. It was like one of those ones that was advertised like, oh, people are throwing up in the theater, and we have to have nurses there because people are passing out. But I never watched them, so I don't know. I heard the same thing about Terrifier though, and I watched that, and yeah, man, there was a kill in that I almost threw up. there was this chick, she was hung up by her feet, and she was naked except for her underwear, and then the clown comes up, rips her underwear, and then takes a hacksaw and just cuts her in half from between the legs all the way. He stops in the middle of her head, so she's still connected there as her body's hanging there, but oh boy, oh, it was gross.
Yeah, so anyways, I was watching, I caught this YouTube video the other day, and I have some strong feelings about it. The video is called Sincerity, Hollywood's Forgotten Currency, and the channel is the Cozy Kino Show. So basically, the whole point of the video is that he's ever since, and he's kind of got a point, but he's looking at it super narrow-mindedly. His whole point is that basically since that scene in the Avengers, when Loki is trying to do his villain monologue and the Hulk somehow sneaks up on him, grabs him, and slams him into the ground, and everybody lost their shit, and it's one of the best scenes in movie history. No movies want to take themselves seriously anymore. Like, there's always that they want to subvert your expectations here, make everything kind of whimsical, like a little random stuff can happen. And that's his point. That like Hollywood's just missing sincere moments because it's always you're getting the rug pulled out from underneath you. And he's like, he starts with Lord of the Rings. He's like, these movies were not like that. These movies were sincere through and through. And then he moves to that, and now it's not. And like, he's got a point if the only movies that exist between 1999 and 2024. Like, that shit happened all the time in the 90s. Indiana Jones, that scene where he shoots the guy. Everyone knows the one. Like, that is the exact same vibe as the Hulk thing. And that shit came out in what, 79, 80?
I think it was in the 80s, yeah, because it was Star Wars was 77, I think. That was after.
Okay, so 85, let's say. I don't know. It was before I was watching movies. It came up, but like that was
81
years ago at least. Like, and it's a shame because it was a really good video. The guy put a lot of work into it. Obviously, it was very well made. He made a lot of good points, and within the criteria he set, he was, I would say, largely correct. I think he clearly only watches a certain type of movie, and in those movies that he watches, this applies. But like, it's just a shame. He put a lot of work into it. He made a lot of really good points, but he's just wrong. Like,
yeah, I think he's just watching the wrong movies
or not watching the right ones. I think he just has a very pigeonholed view of things, and because there are new movies that are sincere. Like they've been, like, Marvel movies aren't, but they're comic book movies.
Exactly, yeah. Like, you wouldn't expect Lord of the Rings to make puns, but out of a comic book?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And like he of course points to Deadpool a lot, but like that is the point in Deadpool. He pointed to episode 8, but that movie's dog shit for a lot of other reasons, not just Luke taking the lightsaber and tossing it, to the side. Like, that movie had a lot of other problems, but like there was a lot of shit in the 90s where it was like that. And again, Indiana Jones, like that, he was just wrong.
Well, you know why they did that in Indiana Jones, right? It's because Harrison Ford couldn't stop shitting himself. Everybody on set got really terrible food poisoning, and they needed to get the shot. And Harrison Ford just didn't want, because there was a whole fight with swords and the whip and everything. It was all choreographed. And Harrison Ford was just so sick that day. He goes, what if I just shot him? I got a gun, right?
Well, they made the right decision in that, because
I think so too.
That's an iconic scene and makes way more sense. But like, anyway, so that points into my other thing. I don't remember where I heard this quote, and that's a shame because I can't give it credit. It might have been actually Asmongold that said it. I can't remember. But the quote was, TV used to be better, not because the people that wrote it were better, but because the people that watched it were. And while overall I don't think that's necessarily true, you didn't have the internet with people making really well produced but like inherently wrong videos about shit. Like, you had Roger Ebert giving his opinion, and you could take it or leave it, but like, you didn't have 100 fucking people online telling you why you shouldn't like a movie.
And the people who think things are good, bad news is what travels fast.
Yeah.
So if you don't like something, you're going to say something about it. But if you do like something, you're probably not going to say anything about it except to like your friends. Like, oh man, I love that movie. You know, you're not going to make a YouTube video unless you're, you know, one of those guys like Movie Bob or, you know, Angry Video Game Nerd, whatever, about like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I actually loved something. That's not going to happen. All you're going to get is somebody who usually says, yeah, to be like, oh my God, this thing was such a garbage piece of shit. The Angry Joes. It's a whole new style of reviewing. When I worked at T-Mobile, my boss there, this was in 2008, he blamed it on Jeremy Clarkson from Top Gun, that it started a whole new style of reviewing things.
You can cut this out. I made that exact same mistake earlier today.
Top Gun instead of Top Gear?
I said Top Gun instead of Top Gear. Exact same mistake.
Yeah, I noticed it as soon as I said it, and I was like, you know, I'm going to correct myself in the sense, fuck it, I mean, we're leaving that in. Yeah, Jeremy Clarkson on Top Gear, because his style of review was that he would mainly point out what he didn't like about it. And then Yahtzee on The Escapist started doing that. And then there's the Angry Video Game Nerd. Well, I guess Angry Video Game was before, but not as big. Then Angry Joe. And so the whole point of reviewing things became to be to talk shit about them. But then that's the only feedback that producers were getting. So they change everything, including the good stuff. That's why so many sequels are dog shit.
So you bring up a point there that was actually in the conversation I was having earlier today. Somebody said they didn't like Top Gear because they just shit on all the cars. And I was like, no, that's not true. And I was thinking about it, and like, no, you're right. Like, largely, like Jeremy Clarkson did always, but like he would be like a good example of that. And I don't remember if he talked about it in the show, but I know I've seen stuff with him talking about it. He bought a Ford GT like immediately when they launched in 07 probably. He bought one. And the first ones that came out were horrible, absolutely horrible. His, like, he put like 50 miles on it in the first year because every time he drove it, it broke. And he constantly shit on it. But in the same sentence would be like, this car is fucking amazing. And it's the worst vehicle ever made. Like, was basically, and he did, like, that's what he always did. Like, I remember the Lancer Evo 8. He was like, this car is amazing. You don't have to drive it. It basically just drives itself. Like, you can take it out and show your friends that you're this amazing driver, and then they'll figure out the secret eventually that you're not. It's just this car. But like, he did it in a way where it sounded like he was shitting on it, but he was really saying it was amazing. Like, it was amazing in a different way.
We see what he would usually do is he would start off any review saying all of the bad things about it up front. But then if there were good things, he would also go into great detail about the good things. It's just his habit was to destroy it up front so that he could gush about it later. You know who else does that? You in our X-Men 97 review.
Yes. Well, and here's why I think when he did it, it wasn't a problem. It's when people, when people imitate it's the problem because they miss the nuance.
Exactly.
They just like, because look, how many, I don't know if I don't know if I can think of an example that I've said specifically to you, but like, I will tell you a movie is one of the worst movies ever made, and you should absolutely watch it and love it as much as I do. Like, I could, like, sometimes the faults are what make it great. Like, they make it unique and original, and you just gotta love it because of that. Like, and people miss that nuance. They just hear that, oh, this is fucking terrible. Like, yeah, but it's terrible correctly. Like, you know.
But going into the whole thing about, like, you know, squeaky wheel, getting the grease and whatnot, I think it is not even about the people who are writing it and the people who are watching it. It's about the people who are between those. It's the producers. It is the movie studios. It is all of them micromanaging every detail of something and basically just turning it into mush. I think that what we need to see is we need to see more auteur, Quentin Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, Rob Zombie even. These are all writers and directors, Kevin Smith, who have their very specific thing that they do. And they can't do that with the studio interfering with them. So that's why they have to have the clout that they have. But I think that studios need to give more lesser known filmmakers the same creative control, maybe lower budgets at first, to make good quality movies that have a singular cohesive vision all the way throughout. I mean, one of the reasons that the first Star Wars trilogy was so good and we've had so much trouble with everything past then is because that was George Lucas's vision from start to finish. Even when, other movies like Lawrence Kasdan was directing and everything, it was still 100% George Lucas's vision. And now and everything, you see people getting, directors will get taken off of a movie 3/4 through making it.
So I'm gonna draw a couple of comparisons here just to enforce your point. I'm not arguing with you. I agree 100%. I'm going to draw a couple of comparisons because that's how my mind works. This is not just a problem in movies. Like, this is a problem in media in general, and like, honestly, everything. Like, democracy is great. It is, but it gums up the fucking works. Like, you take, so World of Warcraft famously has the last couple expansions have not been received great. Like, starting with, you never played it, right?
I played during Warlords of Draenor. That was I got Draenor the day that it was released with my friend, my roommate at the time, and then I played it for about a year after that.
Okay, so so when you played it, and for the sequel, the expansion following that, the guy in charge was a guy named Chris Metzen. He'd been at Blizzard for years. He'd been in charge of WoW for like 14, 15 years. He left right before the next expansion, Battle for Azeroth, came out. That was the last one he worked on at all. And he was gone for Shadowlands and Dragonflight, which were the last two, which were not received well. Because when he left, a lot of the speculation, and based on what people there have said since he recently came back, he left and they started letting everybody have their opinion and let them make the WoW that they wanted to make. And that can sometimes be good, but you didn't have one guy in charge going, no, this is the vision. This is what we're going to do. And that's what Metzen brought. And now he's back. And the newest one, World Within, so far is getting amazing reviews from players as a return to like the old formula. So like that's a good example of like something currently, like you need the director to just let him be a fucking director, let him, you put him there for a reason. You don't need producers coming in, waving their fucking money dicks around, telling him, oh no, we got to have this, we got to have that. Look at China. Okay. Look, democracy is great, but China advanced 200 years in the span of about 60. Because they had one motherfucker. Okay, a lot of people died. All right. I'm not saying there was, they didn't have to break some eggs, but they did it because one motherfucker was in charge. Look at any great period in the Roman Empire, like great, quote, like where they expanded or anything, one motherfucker was in charge. They had a Caesar. When the Senate was in charge, they didn't do shit because too many people were fucking fighting about what they should do. And they couldn't throw all of their weight behind any one thing. And it's the same thing with fucking movies. Like, you need a guy, or a girl, or a they. You need one person, one voice directing it a lot of the time. Sometimes it can work, but a lot of the time you need that one person to make the call.
Yeah, you need a Kevin Feige or, a Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, the guys who are actually responsible for the good parts of the Marvel universe, but like DC, that was why the DC universe was such poop, because there wasn't one cohesive vision of it. It was shareholders and their incohesive vision of it. But now that James Gunn's actually like running shit over there, we might actually see some good cohesive stuff getting churned out.
I hope so. Like if they'll let him do his thing, like he should be able to do something good. And they would very much benefit from having a cohesive story. Like, that's one of the things that made the MCU so good is that every movie built on each other. It kind of sucks now because, if you decide you don't want to watch it for a couple years, you now have homework to catch up on anything. Like, I haven't watched hardly any of the shows. So I'm kind of like, there's a lot of stuff that's coming out in phase 4 that I'm like, I guess I'll watch a YouTube video about that. Like,
well, I guess that's one good thing about all those Disney series being only 6 episodes long is that, you can just watch, say you were planning on watching 2 movies in a day, just watch season 1 of Loki instead.
Yeah. See, like that's one I haven't watched.
Loki's the best of them all.
That's what people say. I wanted to watch them in order, but I couldn't get through WandaVision.
I loved WandaVision, but that's because of my love of sitcoms.
Yeah, I mean, I love sitcoms too, but I don't know. I didn't like it. I didn't. To be fair, I only watched the first episode, but
Oh,
I really need to give it
I would say give it another shot. It gets better.
I know I need to. And like, I really want to watch Ronin, which I heard wasn't really good. Isn't that what they called it? Or Hawkeye, whatever. I heard it wasn't great, but it sounds super interesting to me. I want to make that decision for myself, but I can't watch them out of order. Even if it doesn't matter,
No, I get that.
I need to watch them in order, and it's very difficult. No, I did watch Moon Knight, but that was largely because they were like, yeah, this has nothing to do with fucking anything else.
Yeah, it doesn't connect at all.
Yeah.
But it was so good. I loved Moon Knight.
Man, it wasn't the Moon Knight I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be a little more the fun kind of crazy. Like, man, I'd never really seen much of the character, but he was in a run in X-Force around 2015. And at this point, the group was like him, Deadpool, Wolverine, Psylocke, and Archangel. Like,
It sounds like a party.
yeah, no, it was really good. But they're fighting a version of, or like the cult of Apocalypse.
Akaba?
Huh?
Akaba?
Maybe.
Yeah, I actually have a tattoo of the Akaba logo on my back.
That could be. I don't remember exactly. But anyways, so that's the story they're going through. But anyways, they get to the end, like the final, and they find out that it's not, I think they were trying to resurrect Apocalypse or something. But anyways, they get there and they've done it. But he's like a 10-year-old kid. He's not full grown. And they kill all the other cult members or whatever. Now they've just got him and they're like, well, what do we do? And even Wolverine and Deadpool are like, I don't know that we can just kill a kid. And Psylocke's like, yeah, I think we should do something. And Archangel's like, maybe we take him to the professor, and blah, blah, blah. And like, they're all discussing it. And then it's just blam. And Moon Knight shot him in the head. And he's like, what? We all knew that's what needed to happen. And they're all kind of like, yeah, I'm glad he did it.
No, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting to hear that was the Apocalypse that got taken to Krakoa and became like...
It is. He didn't die. Yeah, he didn't die. He ends up going to the academy and then they take him to Krakoa and he grows up. Well, he grows up and then he comes to Krakoa.
That would have been funny if that wasn't, though, if that was just the end of it. It's like the underage of Apocalypse.
Yeah, they had a whole storyline. Like, he goes to the academy for a while, or the school, whatever. And I don't remember exactly what happens, but yeah, it is effectively the same Apocalypse, just he got growed up.
Nice, I'll have to check that out. There's a lot of the stories from that era that I want to see. I've actually seen a lot of like stills and stuff from that run. You know, the Kid Apocalypse was a cool design. Did you ever read Apocalypse versus Dracula?
I did not. That sounds awesome though.
Yeah, that was really cool. That was Apocalypse is woken up for the first time since ancient Egypt in Victorian times, and he has to, basically fight the Dracula of Bram Stoker's Dracula in that setting.
Is it they're like, is it the Dark Universe or whatever they called it, Dracula version where it's kind of campy? Or is it like a...
No, it's more. It's a Apocalypse comic book, so I don't want to say it's serious because it's still,
Is it like the Frankencastle type?
No, not like that. No, this is like more accurate to the actual novels and stuff.
Okay,
but it is still a comic book,
Yeah, I just wondered because I didn't know Marvel owned the rights to all of those characters for comic book stuff until I read Frankencastle. I was like, I never read the Creature of the Black Lagoon comic book? What? Why was this ever even made?
I mean, I think it was still Timely Comics at the time, but it was before horror comics got banned. Like, that was the most popular kind of comics, was horror comics.
Yeah, I get that. It's just like, this shit was from like the 40s and 50s. And they had the rights, and then they just shoved that shit probably because they bought a company that had it, and they were like, yeah, we'll use it someday. And then they were like, oh, where we could dust it off? Frankencastle, because what else is he going to do during Dark Reign?
Yeah, like I think Blade was in a couple of there was Dracula comics. Like, there was actually a Dracula series. I think there was.
Yeah,
maybe that was Tales of Horror.
That would make sense. That would definitely make sense in the 90s if that's when they did it. Like, I could definitely have seen that being a thing, because when they did that Marvel Knights stuff where they tried to do the mature comic books. Like Punisher was part of that.
Yeah. And okay, so Dracula's first appearance in a Marvel comic was April 1972 in Tomb of Dracula, but also Tales of Suspense from March 1951. There was a vampire in that who was retroactively made Dracula. So that was his like retroactive first appearance in a Marvel comic. But yeah, Dracula's been around in the Marvel universe since the 70s.
When did Blade get introduced? It would make sense if they were about the same time.
I'm going to look that up right now. I don't see. First appearance, Tomb of Dracula, issue 10, 1973.
There, yeah, that makes sense.
You know what other TV show I really liked? Fallout. I can't wait for season 2 of that.
Yeah, me neither. That shit was so good. And I thought I would like it. Like I saw, Walton Goggins. I was like, yeah, I'd watch it just for him. But like I saw the trailer and all, and like I'm a fan of Fallout, but I'm not like a super fan. I did not expect to like that show as much as I did. It was fucking amazing. Amazon has killed it with the last few shows I've watched today.
They really have.
I feel like they're just throwing money at good directors or creators or whatever. Like I feel like they're giving Eric Kripke all the rope he needs to make. Well, that's a bad analogy because that's usually to hang himself. But they're giving him all the freedom he needs to make The Boys the way he wants. I don't know who the showrunner is for Fallout, but they deserve a raise. Like those are just two amazing shows that are just amazing.
Yeah, and the whole universe that's springing up around The Boys too, with Diabolical, Gen V, and there's just so much fun stuff where you can go with it. And
Soldier Boy getting his own show.
I'm so excited about Soldier Boy and Stormfront together in like the 40s and 50s. Like
that's going to be so good. Oh, I can't wait. I can't fucking wait. I'm curious. So they probably, I imagine they had like, season 2 was planned by the time they were done with season 1. And then season 3 was planned by the time they finished season 2. And this last one was season 4, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I imagine season 4 was already written out before they finished up with season 3, right?
I would assume so. Yeah. I mean, I honestly think that if you're making a TV show, that's how you should be doing it. Like you should have an idea where you want the next season to go before finishing the one, so that you don't end up dropping some sort of plot thread that just goes nowhere next season. Evil did that a couple times where it's like the season ended, the next season started. I'm like, I don't fucking get it.
Yeah. So I say all that to say, like, I feel like Soldier Boy ended up being a way bigger hit than they were anticipating. So they brought him back because of that. Like, I feel like they didn't plan to have him come back. Cause like Stormfront didn't come back, like other characters like him didn't come back. They were just sort of plot points for that season and then moved on. And like, I feel like he was so popular. They were like, well, he's got to come back. Like, we can't end this story without him anymore. And I feel like that's what happened because, they didn't throw him in until the very end of.
They did know that they might need him though. So that's why they froze him.
Yeah, because but like I feel like that's probably what happened. Maybe not. Maybe they planned to the entire time. I don't know. I don't see how you couldn't have been on set watching it and not go, everyone is going to love this guy.
Especially with all the promo stuff they did, like the music videos. The music videos were so funny. And then bringing him in for the cameo in Gen V was so funny. And he spent, apparently there was like a long period of time of him just riffing on that. And a lot of it made it into the show. But him just being a foul-mouthed delight like Johnny Storm at the end of Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, that was so great.
I'm a big fan of the foul-mouthed delight. You know, like the person who, if you knew him in real life, you'd just be like, man, this is a really inconvenient person to spend my time with. Or when you're watching them or enjoying them in a fictional circumstance, it's like, oh man, this is just great.
So that reminds me, I was going to bring this up earlier, throwing back to it. So follow along with me. You remember that YouTuber I was talking about, Patrick Willems? I don't know if you ever watched any of his videos.
No, I've actually been wanting to text you again to ask his name, but I didn't want you to be like, you didn't watch him yet, you piece of shit.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I'm writing it down though.
So he did a whole video talking about specifically Ryan Reynolds and The Rock and the type of movies they make. They're arguably the two biggest action stars right now. They're definitely in the top 5, right? Every movie they make is a blockbuster budget and, good reviews, whatever. But they're all very, this is the point he makes in that, they're all very safe. And his reasoning and what he argues in that video is that they're not actors predominantly. They're a brand. Like The Rock is a brand. Ryan Reynolds is a brand because they have all these other investments. Ryan Reynolds with Mint and that football team, and not Aviator anymore. I think he sold that. But all his stuff, and The Rock has his tequila, and he's got to have a deal with Under Armour. I don't know, like shit like that. So like they are beholden to all of these other endeavors they have that they can't do anything. They can't risk making a bad movie because it'll hurt all of their other investments.
That kind of is what happened to The Rock with Black Adam, because not only did he make a bad movie, but then he just made all the mistakes in talking about it, and now Hollywood doesn't want to work with him anymore.
Yeah. Well, not just, when I say bad movie, not just a movie that does poorly, but like they can't take risks.
Gotcha. I understand now.
Make a movie that could be controversial, and but also they can't make a movie that's not going to make money, which is the problem with Black Adam. Like it made money, I'm pretty sure, but it wasn't a particularly big success. The only caveat to that, and I think he's right for the most part, because look at all those movies. They're not bad, but they're not great. They're not breaking any rules. They're not setting any new standards. They're not changing the formula at all. They're all very formulaic movies, and they're good. Like, was it Red?
Red was so much fun.
Yeah, like it was a fun movie, but it wasn't. It was kind of formulaic, and it wasn't really. It didn't break it. It didn't tread any new ground. It didn't. It didn't change the genre or anything. But it was a fun movie. I'm not denying that. But Deadpool is an exception. And one of the reasons I think Deadpool and Wolverine, well, Deadpool in general, but Deadpool and Wolverine has managed to be as good as it was, goes back to the other point. Like, he put up a lot of the money for that. His production company, fucking Maximum Effort or whatever, produced the movie. He had the say-so on that movie. So you had one fucking vision, one guy saying we could do this, and they did it, and it was amazing.
I honestly, remember I said a couple weeks ago that I thought it would be really great if they gave Ryan Reynolds his own little pocket of the Marvel Universe to develop?
Yeah.
Well, now they're talking about, it looks like they might be doing a Gambit movie.
Yeah.
And then Wesley Snipes has expressed an interest in playing Blade again. And I'm like, oh, fuck, are they going to do a Marvel Knights imprint? And like, that's just what, like, Ryan Reynolds just to be like, the Joss Whedon of that, because I'd be fucking down for that. Joss Whedon and Feige.
Hell yeah! Like, give him the R-rated section of Marvel.
Yeah, and I guess
give us a real good Ghost Rider.
Oh yeah, bring back Nicolas Cage's Ghost Rider. Do all of it. But I remember I said that one joke was like, oh, that looks like a Ryan Reynolds looking right in the camera and saying, yeah, we're gonna bring back they're never making that Blade movie, and you were like, no, they're not doing that. And then 2 weeks later, the Blade movie got canceled.
Oh, I actually didn't even see that.
Yeah, Mahershala Ali's Blade movie has been canceled.
Oh shit!
So it is looking like that was definitely what Ryan Reynolds was saying. Like,
you may have been right. Yeah, you might have been right on that then. Damn.
But I would be more than thrilled to see that happen. On a side note,
I possibly stand corrected. Yeah.
I wish that we could mention Blade's first word in the movie in the Marvel universe without getting canceled. But oh my god, when Blade shows up and he's like, I thought you were retired. Retarded. It fucking cracked me up. Anyway.
I think we can say that without getting canceled. It's a quote from something. First off, like I said the other day, that word is making a comeback.
It is. So right. Mainly thanks to Shane Gillis, I think.
I still maintain that nobody knows who he is.
I mean, he hosted Saturday Night Live. Like, that's...
Yeah. How many people watch Saturday Night Live nowadays?
A lot.
Okay, but how many really?
I'm going to look it up right now.
I bet it's not 4 million people.
During the 2003 to 2004 broadcast seasons, Saturday Night Live, SNL, averaged 7.2 million viewers.
Okay.
The show is also the top-rated show in the The show is also the top rated in the 18 to 49 demographic.
You said 2003 to 2004.
2023 to 2024, sorry.
Okay, 7 million people. That's not that many.
I mean, it is in the 18 to 49 demographic. It's more than any other show has, and that's a massive demographic.
Okay, but it's more than any other show has, but it's a show. Like TV just doesn't get the viewership that it used to. And you see him all the time online because the algorithms feed him to you. I see him all the time online, but like stand-up comedy is just not that big.
Okay, I understand what you're saying. Outside of the world of stand-up comedy, sure.
Yeah. Outside, I'm thinking in general.
I feel like most of the push to bring that word back is from comedians and terrible people.
Yeah, no, it definitely is, and them as a community have pushed to bring it back. But I don't think he, in particular, has really done. Asmongold, the YouTuber, says it all the time. He averages like 3 million people on his videos, and he puts out like 4 a day.
That's retarded.
I agree. Like it's fucking retarded. But like I'm not saying like in his bubble, maybe in the bubble of stand-up comedy, maybe he's the number one person. But that bubble is very small in the grand scheme of things. Was the point I was trying to get to the other day?
I get you.
Like when I said nobody knows who he is, I meant like overall, not obviously in stand-up. He's one of the biggest.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely not a household name like, Ryan Reynolds or The Rock.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's not a household name like fucking PewDiePie or fucking Moist Critical or all those fucking people. Like,
He was about to hit it big, though, but Tarantino decided not to make the movie. But he was going to be the star of a Tarantino movie about a movie critic. And it was going to be awesome. And then that project, Tarantino decided not to make it because he's only going to make one more movie, he says. He said he's going to make 10 movies, and that's it. And that was supposed to be his 10th movie, but he changed his mind, apparently.
I bet he does that a bunch because I bet he's going to second guess it being his magnum opus.
Well, I'm interested because I saw an interview with him today where he watched Toy Story 3, and he said it was one of the best movies he's ever seen, and it was so good that he refuses to watch Toy Story 4. And I'm just like,
I need to watch fucking Toy Story 3 now.
Oh my God, it's such a good movie.
That's what I took from that. I don't even think I've seen Toy Story 2, but fuck.
Oh,
if Tarantino thinks it's one of the best movies ever made, because he's made what I think are like 5 of the best movies ever made.
I mean, you should definitely watch Toy Story 2 first if you're going to watch Toy Story 3, because Toy Story 3, I know this sounds silly, is the absolute culmination of those 3 movies. Like, and not just those 3 movies, but everything we've seen these characters go through in all of the different shorts.
No spoilers, but is Toy Story 3 the one where they end up in like on the conveyor belt towards the incinerator?
It is.
Yeah. Okay. I'll watch them at some point in the near future. I think I acquired them all recently.
And you know what? I didn't hate Toy Story 4. I thought it was a lot of fun. Keanu Reeves plays an Evel Knievel style toy called Duke Kaboom. And Key and Peele play like carnival prizes.
Oh man, did you ever play the Toy Story video game for the SNES?
No, I did not.
You remember those movie-based video games?
Oh, I remember them very well. Did you ever play the Home Improvement one?
I did not. No, I didn't know that existed.
It was fucking terrible. You were fighting dinosaurs.
All right, so I was, 10-ish in the neighborhood when these were all real big, and I remember them all just being hard as shit. Like, not particularly good games, and that's kind of what made them hard. But like Demolition Man, it was super fun until you got to the sewer level, and then I could never get past that. It's just fucking hard as fuck. And Toy Story, there was one level, I don't remember what it was. That was really fun though. Like, there was a mini game where you had to do the claw machine, and there was a part where you were like a racing game where you were on the RC cars. But there was one level in that one that I could just never get past. I don't remember what it was.
God, there were so many games like that. They were so hard because they were if they weren't hard, they would last a half an hour. They called it Nintendo hard because Nintendo games were specifically notorious for it.
So conspiracy theory on it, and I don't think it's necessarily unfounded, but maybe there's 2 reasons. One, like you said, so you would play them for. If you could just beat them easily, they would last maybe not 30 minutes, but you could beat them in an evening. Mm-hmm. And 2, if they were hard, you had to rent them multiple times.
Yeah.
And I think that might have had a lot to do with it too.
I rented Earthbound so many times, and then I finally went to Best Buy to buy it, and it was $5.
Wow, that's funny. The developers for the Lion King game for the Sega Genesis came out and like officially apologized for how much of a bullshit game it was, like how hard it was.
So the Nintendo Switch version of that game has a mode where you can just watch the game play itself to get you past the hard part. That's how hard that game is.
That's fucking funny.
Yeah, because I have that. It's packaged with the Aladdin game as well. I think it's actually the Super Nintendo version, not the Genesis version. But yeah, and they both have modes where you can watch the gameplay. Because I could never get past the level where you first meet Timon and Pumbaa, like that one where you're jumping on the logs and everything. I could never get past that.
I never played it. I didn't have a Sega.
Oh, mine was the Super Nintendo version. But okay. That one, whereas the Aladdin game was very different between the Super Nintendo and Genesis versions. I think the Lion King game was the same.
I don't know. I've just always heard that specifically the Sega version was the hard one. I don't know. I actually thought it was just only on the Sega. I never played it. I guess it makes sense it would be on both. Talking about that, this is kind of an aside, but it just reminded me of this. Man, there was this dude I used to know back in, we went to high school together, but I didn't really hang out with him in high school, but we shared a house with a bunch of other people for a period in college. And there was a game, I want to say it was one of the Prince of Persia games. They put, like, it was definitely a platformer like that, but they put in a mechanic in the game where if you fucked up like a jump, you could rewind time and do it again.
Yeah, I think it was Sands of Time, Prince of Persia.
Yeah, that's it. It's Sands of Time. I was thinking Tides of Time, but that's something that it was Sands of Time. And I was like, I read an article about, I never played it because those types of games just frustrate me. And as we discussed earlier, I don't want a game that makes me angry. I like to relax. But anyways, and I was like, wow, this game was so fucking difficult. They had to put in a rewind mechanic. It was like just the comment I made. And this motherfucker was like, I played it. It wasn't that hard. I'm like, yeah, because they put in a rewind mechanic, you motherfucker. Like, of course it wasn't that hard. They put in something to make it not hard. But he was like, he was one of those guys who was like, it's not that good. It's not that hard. I could do that.
They also did that in Braid where you could rewind the game. There's actually like a core mechanic, just like you had to use it to get around puzzles. And yeah. Have you ever played The Messenger?
No.
That one is a game that does the difficulty in a really interesting way. Like by the time I was done the game, I could play through half of the game without dying. But for your first time through, whenever you die, you just immediately start back at the next checkpoint, which is only ever a couple of screens away. It's really, as hard as it is, it's very accommodating. And you don't even lose currency. It's just the next bit of money that you pick up gets eaten by a little demon as payment for saving your life. Because the way they do it is whenever you're gonna die, he stops time and takes you back in time.
I've seen someone talk about this game or something before. This is familiar.
Yeah, you probably heard me talking about it because a couple months ago I played that and its successor, Sea of Stars, and it's literally two of the best games I've ever played in my entire life, and I think that everyone should play those games.
So this is a good segue. So signposting in video games. I think you have a different opinion than I do on this, so I would like to hear yours on this. But I watched a video recently. It was fairly short, and unfortunately, I don't remember who put it out, so I can't give them a shout out. But apparently, the new Final Fantasy VII remake game is lousy with this, and people are angry that they're yellow painting like all the walls to tell you where to go.
I only really noticed it in Final Fantasy. Now, I didn't play a lot of it because I just couldn't get into the second one.
Yeah, so I don't know. I haven't played them either. But anyways, it's apparently got a bunch of people all aflutter that there's too much letting you know which way to go in the game and hand holding, if you will. But ultimately, it's all signposting. So you had mentioned that you think it can get out of hand sometimes. Do elaborate, please.
So, like God of War, literally every surface was covered in golden handprints showing you exactly the way to go. But like in Assassin's Creed, it's like you could see, you could go to this brick, you could go to this brick, you could go to this brick, same thing in Uncharted. I think God of War is an example of it going a little bit too far, where it's just, it doesn't give you any need to search. It just shows you exactly where to go.
Okay. So what about a game like Skyrim where there's just a road and you just follow the road to the next city?
I mean, in those games, I never stick to the road. I always go as far away from the road as possible. But one thing Skyrim does that I love is the clairvoyance spell, where it doesn't give you a path to follow, but if you want a path to follow or you're stuck somewhere, you can use the clairvoyance spell and it'll put you on a path to it. I think that's great.
Okay. So, and I have an idea of what the problem is that I'll come back to, but specifically here, to see if I can get you on the same page, what is the problem with God of War having yellow handprints leading you in the direction versus Skyrim having a literal road and signposts leading you in a direction?
Oh, God, you're going to make me fucking think now. I mean, problem's a strong word. I would...
Oh, well, I mean, you said it's getting out of... I think your term was it's getting out of hand or something like that, or too heavy.
Well, I said in some instances it can get out of hand, but now that you're pointing out the whole road and literal signpost analogy, my logic is falling apart. That's what I meant about having to think.
And that's my point. Like, I don't think, and this is, you could say this is just being semantic, but I don't think it is. I think there's a significant... I think there's a problem here, but the problem is not signposting. The problem is art direction. Like, or just being lazy. Like, I don't think telling you which way to go in a video game, which is what signposting is a problem. I think the only problem that could be there is you don't like the art style, essentially, that they've taken.
Well,
and I think my opinion on the matter is that this is a fabricated problem. Like, this isn't a problem. This is you trying to, not you specifically, but like to the point of that video is like, this is not a problem. This is you trying to find a fault in a game that you don't like for some reason, and you're trying to justify it. This is not a problem. If this is a problem you have in a game, you need more problems in your life. Like, this is not a problem.
So I think what my, not problem, niggle, my nitpick, my little about it is that it sort of tries to convey that you're trying to find this hard path, but then it doesn't. And it's like, well, why are you making me press all of these buttons to just walk forward? You know, it's like if in Assassin's Creed or Uncharted, I have to plot my way up the wall. But in God of War, it's literally, I might as well just be holding the joystick up to move anyway. Now, God of War, though, gives a really good in-universe reason for it, which is that, spoilers for anybody who hasn't played the first God of War, your dead wife went ahead of you on this journey and literally marked everything for you. So God of War is maybe not the best example of it because it has a narrative reason for it. But also, I think it's the matter of that path being explicit or implicit, right? So in Skyrim, you can go anywhere you want. So if you want to go to Riverrun, here's the road to Riverrun. But if you want to go to Markarth, maybe just running across the woods is going to be the more direct route for you. You can choose which way you want to go. But in a game that's as linear as God of War is, because God of War, technically it's an open world game, but the levels themselves are very linear, at least the first time you go through them.
I don't think technically it's an open world game.
It is. You can go back to any world at any point whenever you want.
Yeah, but that's not open world. Like,
a lot of it is just interconnected. Like, you can fast travel with the world tree, but you can get anywhere from anywhere just by traveling on land.
Yeah, but that's not open world. I mean, you can do that in almost every Final Fantasy game too. They're not open world. Like,
yeah, I suppose you're right.
Yeah, like that's not God of War is an open world game.
But it's not a perfectly linear game either. There is exploration to it. And this path is, that's what I said. It's like it gives you the illusion that you're the whole God of War thing, that's a bad example because there's a narrative reason for it. Let me try and think of a good one.
Most games, there's a narrative reason for it. An example they used in that video that is a good example of this, and they used it as it being done correctly, quote with correctly, because I don't think any of this is wrong, personally, but they Half-Life. So like if you're running around Half-Life and there's a place you need to go, the street light is on at the place you need to go. It's a clear indicator of where to go.
Yeah. Far Cry does it really well too.
Diablo has a thing that they use in their games, and Path of Exile does too. A lot of times, if you're looking for a particular dungeon or cellar or something, you'll see where blood it's where they like drug bloody bodies in the ground. When you start seeing a bunch of blood, you know you're on the right right track, shit like that. A lot of games do stuff like that. And Final Fantasy, like what they described, and again, I haven't played that game. I think the problem is not that it's signposting, it's that they did it lazily. And I don't think that means the problem is signposting. I don't think there's any, I don't think there's any problem with putting out obvious cues on where to go, because there's no downside to it. If you're a person that's not, like, if you're a young kid, I remember back to being a young kid, not knowing where the fuck to go in a video game, and there's obvious cues, it makes the game better. If you're an experienced player, you don't need them anyway. Like, they're not, you can say they're hand holding, but it doesn't matter. Like, you don't, even if they weren't there, you'd still know where to go. It's not a problem, is my point with it. Like, the signposting isn't a problem. The art direction is a problem.
Yeah, because honestly, I started playing Knights of the Old Republic for the first time the other night, and I could really use some fucking signposts in that game. I'll be completely honest.
Probably, yeah. Like, I don't remember playing it, but that's probably one. Like, I don't remember having a problem with it, rather. But that's, yeah, something like that. Like those older games that didn't tell you where. Morrowind. Oh my God.
Morrowind was so bad. Like, no fucking, like, when I started playing Oblivion, people were complaining about, oh, these quest markers you got to follow. And I was like, no, please, thank you, because I don't have a career to play this game during. I've got like a job and school to do.
And again, those people that were complaining about that, those people are stupid. They did not diminish the gameplay for them. They're making up something to be mad about. Like, you're creating a problem where there's not a fucking problem.
Yeah. But I think the two best examples of signposting for me are Far Cry and Doom, the new Doom Eternal. Because anywhere that you can, like, mantle to, there's like a little green light. Like, it's not super there. You still have to look for them, but they are a telltale indicator that, oh, there is something up there. And then in Far Cry, it's the same thing. It's a little bit more obvious, but it's ropes dangling. It'll be like yellow ropes just hanging off of something. And they all make sense to be there. Like, they're on radio towers or cliffs that have frequently been climbed. So they make sense to be in there. That's what I was saying in the favor of God of War signposting, is that it makes sense because Faye went through and marked all the shit up.
Yeah, Portal's the same way as that. Like, there's constantly, like, go this way, but it's because other people have been trapped here and they told you how to go. Like, narratively, it makes perfect sense. And, like, a lot of games do that. And I think if Final Fantasy had a story element that somebody was leading you this way, nobody could complain about it because it makes sense in the world. Like, your issue is not the signposting. Your issue is the poor art design of the game.
You know what? Now that I'm thinking of it, I think I might know exactly what people are talking about in Final Fantasy. We say it's on the walls. There are certain walls that you can climb with chocobos, and when you get near them, there's like a picture of a chocobo on the wall, like in world.
So that may be what it is. Again, didn't play it. Just know from the video you mentioned it. But that was in Final Fantasy VII.
And so, you know what? A lot of people are mad at me for saying this. I've never played the original Final Fantasy VII. I didn't have a PlayStation when it was new. And by the time I went back to it, I can't go back to N64 and PS1 graphics. I think that the jump to 3D was made too early. And those games none of them aged well. Not a one.
What if, it's my favorite game of all time. I think everyone should play it. There are mods for the Steam version that get the graphics not great, but they're on par with like Final Fantasy VIII or Final Fantasy X. Like,
now, the other thing is that I really didn't like the battle system in either version of Final Fantasy VII. I liked the original's combat better because I prefer turn-based to whatever the new Final Fantasy live-action combat, or not live-action, real-time combat is. I really hate the combat in Final Fantasy VII.
So do you just not like that old school JRPG turn-based like menu?
No, it's the time turn-based thing where you got to wait for your turn. Like, waiting for your turn in turn order, in initiative order, no problem with that. But just sitting there waiting for a timer to go down, eat my ass.
I mean, okay, like early on in the game, you may have some. There are some points where you have to wait for your ATB to fill up, but like once you get, I'd say probably like level 30 or 40.
See, also, that's I hate these games. Like,
okay, stop. But also, you can turn the speed of it up. There's an option in the menu to turn the speed up.
Ah, see, nobody ever told me that. It was just anytime I would complain about it, people would be like, "Oh, well, that's just the way the game is."
I would need to play it again right now to see if I could see it being a problem, but I think if you turn the speed up, it's not a problem. Like, I don't know. I could be wrong. And I can understand why that'd be frustrating from a gameplay perspective. I need to go play it. I need to go, like, it never occurred to me to be a problem. I'm not saying you're wrong.
I just felt like I was waiting to play the game. And also, anytime somebody's like, "Oh, you just got to give the game 30, 40 hours."
No.
Then you'll get into it.
No, this isn't 30 or 40 hours. This is, okay, that first fight when you get off the train, you have no fucking abilities except for auto attack, but you're basically in the tutorial at that point. I could definitely see it there. But like once you start getting, other stuff you can do, I don't know. I need to replay the game. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I don't remember it being a thing that you really ever had to wait. I don't know, man. I don't know. I have to play it because they all have that ATV thing. Like, well, not all of them until like 13. It got different, but like
Final Fantasy X didn't have it, did it?
It kind of did. Like, because you still had to wait for other people to take their turn.
Well, I mean, you got to wait for other people to take their turn in Dungeons and Dragons, but I don't got to sit there and wait for a meter to fill up.
Well, but I mean, the only difference is there's the visual meter for you to fill up. Like,
well, no, like, because I'll be sitting there playing Final Fantasy X or Final Fantasy VII, and literally nothing is happening on screen. The enemies aren't attacking, and my guys aren't attacking because I'm waiting for a bar to fill up to let me pick my attack.
I need to replay it, but I'm almost positive that doesn't happen after like basically the tutorial. It may just be a matter of turning up the speed of the game, and that's something I always do. So maybe it's just that it's not noticeable like that because I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I don't remember it that way. So I need to replay it. And
I am sorry that I don't love your favorite game. I feel bad about it.
No, that's fine. I mean, JRPGs aren't for everybody. Yeah.
I mean, I like a lot of other JRPGs. I mean, Earthbound is one of my favorite games of all time. I love the Persona games, but I get to actually play those games when I'm playing them. Well, in the dungeon parts. The Persona games can be absolutely fucking brutal with wasting your time and not letting you do stuff in other situations.
Did you play any of the previous Final Fantasy games?
I played a little bit of 3.
Okay, because was it a problem in 3?
No, it was not a problem in 3.
Okay, because everyone up until at least 8 and possibly 9 had that gauge, like had that ATB meter. I
only played a little bit of it.
Because like they all had that. Dragon Quest, I'm pretty sure had that.
I like Dragon Quest.
Trigger, I'm pretty sure had that.
I was playing Dragon Quest 11.
Because that's just how those games are made.
Yeah, they're so like the time bar thing that can't be as common as you think it is, and maybe I just don't like the fantasy series.
Here's the thing. Here's what I think it may be, possibly, and this 100% would make the difference. I don't think every game shows you the meter, but they all have that meter. Like they're all made.
Any game I'm thinking of has an initiative order. And it comes your turn, you pick your attacks, and then those attacks happen.
Okay, but they all have the speed stat, which
affects the order in which you attack, not how long it takes to attack.
No, it doesn't. It's not like initiative in D&D. It affects how fast your action gauge fills up. So, like, you take Final Fantasy X, for example, you don't just have a set order. It depends on what your speed is and what the abilities you do are. They affect your ATB gauge. So like, that's why if you do like a quick hit, you can do several of those in a row, or you can do like a big spell and it'll kick you farther down in the initiative order. But also, even if you just do a regular melee attack, they still change. Like it'll change where you are in the order because your characters have different speed stats.
Okay, well, let me try to put this more succinctly. I really liked Final Fantasy X. I have not liked any other Final Fantasy games. I love Earthbound. I love Super Mario RPG. I love tons of Japanese RPGs that are not Final Fantasy. Whether that comes down to how the action bar is filled or whatever it is, I don't know. What I noticed when I played Final Fantasy VII is that I would sit there and wait for an attack to happen. And I could put my controller down and wait in certain occasions. And I don't want to.
So either one, I'm pretty sure that's something that, again, I don't think is an issue after the tutorial, or two, you will have to wait. A lot of the enemies have animations that they do when they do an attack, and that pauses the time gauge.
Well, see, that's the thing is, and don't stop the time gauge. Just for no reason, stop the time gauge. Just let me pick my actions and let them happen in order. Anytime that time gauge is going, to me, is just wasted time. Do the animation, then my turn happens. After that animation done, the next person initiative order's animation happens.
But the thing is, they all, at least the ones from that era and before, they all did that.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, that's fine. I don't like it.
But again, I'm not saying you're wrong, and it's completely.
I don't like Madden either.
It's your personal preference. But you're saying you like these other games from that era, and they all did that same shit.
Earthbound definitely did not do that. Super Mario RPG did not definitely do that.
Okay, neither one of those are.
Super Mario RPG was made by Square.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not like that kind of JRPG.
Okay,
like
it's Persona. I've never seen that in a Persona game.
Again,
it's not Shin Megami Tensei game.
Okay, these are all. So when maybe we're just confused about what exactly. When I'm talking about JRPGs, I mean like Legend of Dragoon, Dragon Quest, Legend of Mana, Chrono Trigger, Xenogears. These are all built that way. Persona.
Gotcha. So when I say JRPG, what I mean is RPGs
different.
that come from Japan.
Yeah, but that's not exactly the same thing. Like I know that JRPG stands for Japanese RPG. I know that. I understand. But when you use that term, like nobody refers to Super Mario RPG as a JRPG, because that is the games I just described are JRPGs. Like I get that it technically falls under that, but that's not what people use to describe that. Or at least they didn't 20 years ago when those games were current. Like looking back on it now, they may all be lumped into the same thing, but back then they were not.
Okay, well then the definition of JRPG that you hold that maybe most other people do and that I am just not familiar with, I don't like.
Okay, and that's completely fair. Like that turn-based combat like that, if you don't like it, that's completely fair, and I will not fault you for not liking
turn-based combat though.
That particular type.
You're taking
what we're talking about.
So my version is actually turn-based. Yours is time-based.
Okay,
taken in
time-based. Then time-based. Look, man, I'm not trying to make this a fight. I'm like, you don't like those types of games, whatever the fuck we want to call them. You don't like Final Fantasy RPGs from the late 90s. How about that? Final Fantasy style RPGs from the late 90s. You don't like
Except for 10. I fucking love 10.
Not from the late 90s. That game came out in like 2002.
You are correct. All right.
And that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
Is there a genre of game that you just can't stand?
Elden Ring, apparently.
There's only one Souls-like game that I like, and that's Bloodborne. I can't get into Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Sekiro. There was one called The Surge or something. I haven't been able to get in any of them except for Bloodborne.
Aside from that, I don't know. And here's the thing about those games. What I think may be the problem now, if I had played Demon Souls, and then I'd played Dark Souls, then I played Dark Souls 2, and then I played Sekiro, and then I played Dark Souls 3, and then I played Elden Ring, I might agree with everyone else that it's the greatest fucking game that's ever made. But I didn't play all the games building up to it, so there's nuances and stuff that I don't understand. And I don't get the gameplay loop. I don't know what to do a lot of the time. And I think that game just doesn't tell you what you like. It's not new player friendly. Is the problem for me not liking it. Also, it's not a horde slayer game. And I would say I really love I like to murder 100 enemies at once.
So you like Dynasty Warriors, right? Or the Warriors games?
I've never played one, but yes, I would have.
Hyrule Warriors is my favorite. I love it so much, but it's like, yeah, I'm just killing swaths of enemies with Sword Strike. I'm also playing as Link from Legend of Zelda.
I'll give you a really good example. The first God of War game, one of the best games I ever played. The second game I bought brand new at full price. and loved every minute of it. And there's only a handful of games that I've done that weren't put out by Blizzard, basically.
So the first one, God of War, is the one that opens up with the Hydra fight, right? Where you're on the ship that's getting torn apart.
That sounds right.
That is one of the best first levels of any video game ever.
But so that game, you get the Blades of Chaos, you're slinging them out, you're hitting 10, 15 enemies at a time, you're collecting all that loot. God of War, 2014, 2016, whenever that one came out, you're fighting maybe 5 enemies at a time, and you don't really have AoE attacks. You're kind of, you kill one, you kill the next one, you kill the next one. I didn't like it nearly as much.
It was fun enough to get me through the game because I was also really engrossed with the story. But later on in the game, when you get the Blades of Chaos again, it's so much more fun, especially when you go into the...
I didn't get that far.
Yeah, Muspelheim, basically the fiery realm where Surtur is, basically hell. There's you climb up this mountain, and each clearing is like a battle trial where they give you a lot more enemies. You really get to play with the Blades of Chaos. Whether playing the game to that point is worth it for you, though?
I got to one thing I really hated, I absolutely hated, so much hate. I didn't like whenever you were forced to throw the axe.
Yeah.
I hated that mechanic. It sucked. It wasn't fun for me. I didn't enjoy it. And I got to a point, there's like a hag or something across the map, and there's like a poison field that you can't run through. So you have to throw the axe to kill the hag. And I quit playing. I was like, fuck it, no. Like that first big troll you fight where you're supposed to throw the axe, and I think you throw it when he's like trying to throw a rock at you, and it knocks him off balance. I don't remember exactly. I just didn't. I just dodged it and waited till I could hit him again. And every other encounter, if you were supposed to throw the axe, I just didn't. I just found another way. But that particular one, I couldn't just run through and get to her. I had to throw the axe, and I quit. I turned it off. Haven't picked it up since.
The real bitch about throwing that axe was that it didn't go in a straight line. It had that arc to it, so you could think you had your shot lined up perfectly, but then it just hits a piece of wood on the way. Oh, it's so enraged. So yeah, I totally get that.
And then you have to hold the button to summon it back or something.
I don't remember if you had to hold it or not, but still, because sometimes you needed to leave it in place, to freeze a switch in place so you could get under a door.
Yeah,
but also they're puzzles without the puzzle. This is a complaint I remember years ago. Egoraptor made a video talking about how superior Link to the Past was to Ocarina of Time, because in Link to the Past you actually had to solve puzzles, but in Ocarina of Time it was like, oh, there's a button on the wall, and I have a bow and arrow. This is a puzzle. Bing, doors open. And God of War, a lot of the puzzles were like that. It was just, here's your thing, go ahead. It was when I talked about just feel like I could have just pushed the D-pad up and done the same thing. Same sort of thing there. It's like, that's not actually a puzzle. It's just you're stopping me here to do this thing. That's not fun gameplay. If it was fun gameplay, I wouldn't have a problem.
Yeah, that's completely fair. I agree with that. I don't necessarily agree with the other take of if I just have to run this direction, because I don't know. You also did this. We cut our teeth on 2D side scroll. They didn't even need signposting. The signposting was that you loaded in and your character was facing a certain direction, and you went, oh, that's the direction I go.
And then I found Metroidvania. Ugh, that might be one of my favorite genres. You like roguelikes. You played Rogue Legacy, right? Oh, that is so great. It's a 2D platformer in a castle that changes every time you go in it. And it's a roguelike. So and you get stronger and stronger with each playthrough because it's your descendants. You die, and then your child comes in and takes your place.
So it's like Dead Cells.
Yeah, very much like Dead Cells.
Here's my problem with Dead Cells. And this is gonna be a big bitch thing to say. It's too hard.
Yeah, I found it was too hard too, so I just turned all the difficulty down, in the custom settings.
I hate doing that.
I did too at first, but it's made the game a lot more fun.
Yeah.
And it's the only game that I like to play really hard is Bloodborne. Otherwise, I want to have a game that I'm going to be able to enjoy at my own pace. The at my own pace thing is very important.
Yeah. So here's what I think is one game that did the best. I don't like I don't like when games just have like start a new game and you pick a difficulty, or you can turn the difficulty down during your gameplay. I don't like that because it makes me feel like I like a certain amount of challenge. I don't know. This is just me being picky as shit about it. I like a certain amount of challenge, but I don't like it to be too easy. And I like it to be a challenge that Final Fantasy games are great for this. And it's one of the reasons I love them. If I get to a point where I'm stuck and I can't beat this boss, I can back up. I can go spend, I don't care if it's 20 hours grinding fucking goblins somewhere. I can come back and I can face roll that boss.
I fucking love level grinding.
I like when I can do stuff like that. Or conversely, and the only game I can really think of that does it this way is World of Warcraft and Wrath of the Lich King specifically. They had certain raids where, like, if you did certain things, you could make encounters harder and they would reward you more loot or an achievement. And that was the best way to fucking do it, in my opinion. Because, like, you could just go through and do the normal thing, and Ulduar hard modes is what they were called. That was the big one for it. So it would be like, in Ulduar, if you went in and you didn't kill any of the bosses and just went straight for the final boss, all the other bosses showed up and buffed that boss. That's not exactly how it worked, but I'm not going to get into the specifics.
So like the heats in Hades, you can choose what things are more difficult about it.
Yes, and like that. Hades did it good too, but not. I liked it in WoW because it was something you actively did in the game when you were playing. Like Hades does it in a better way, but it's still basically just a menu.
And and that's what Dead Cells does it that way too, where you can be like, you can turn down how much any enemy's health has, or you can turn up how much damage you do, or you can turn down how much damage. So wherever aspect of the game you're not good at, it's giving you trouble, you can adjust it for that. And I think that's a great way to handle in-game difficulty. I think Rogue Legacy might have some of that too.
PoE actually has a little bit of that. Like they have these things you can do with a skill tree where like you can either set it to like you take 25% less damage, but monsters have 50% more health, or you take 50% less damage and monsters. That's not exactly right, but hold on, I can actually like what it is. Because it's a really good mechanic that you can choose if you want it in your map or in your game. But anyways, yeah, like you can set it to where like you take more damage, but monsters, that's what it is. You take more damage and monsters have more life, or you take less damage, monsters have less life, or you take less damage and monsters have more life. So if you have a build that's more like DPS heavy, but it's not quite as tanky, you can compensate for that, or vice versa.
Gotcha. And how did you do this again? That wasn't a menu?
So they have skill trees.
Gotcha. Okay.
The monster or the maps, they call them maps, the zones you go into. PoE is skill trees. That's their thing. Like they heard you like skill tree, bro. So here's skill trees on top of skill trees.
That's what I've heard.
Yeah. Like there's, I don't know, 300 points on the skill tree, something like that. I don't know. It's fucking, it might be more than that. It's nuts. And then for all the areas you go into, they have a whole nother skill tree that will change how the areas are. It's a crazy ass game sometimes.
The skill tree in the Final Fantasy VII remake or Rebirth, the second remake, was just trying to figure that out for me was too much. And also the game just didn't hold my interest enough that made me want to do it. Like, also the character models for each individual character were beautiful, but when you get to the crowd people, they look like PS3.
Man, I was so hyped for the remake, and I got to the first boss in the first one and quit. It just wasn't what I wanted. I don't know. There's nothing specifically about it that I thought was bad. It just wasn't what I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I should also say that I don't think that combat system in those Final Fantasy games is bad, by the way. It's just, I don't like it.
Yeah. I wanted the original one with better graphics. Like I wanted the same combat system. I wanted the same materia junctioning. I wanted everything the same, just with voice acting and better graphics. And I knew that's not what it was going to be, but
Like I gotta say, the Super Mario RPG remake was exactly what I wanted out of it. It was just the original game with better graphics and some quality of life improvements.
I actually, so like, you know, a lot of people like to shit on movies nowadays. They're all just, they're either Marvel movies or they're remakes of old movies. I wish we got more remakes of old games, man. Like, I would love to see more of that. Like, I am glad that Final Fantasy VII was popular, like the remake was popular, because I would really like to see that happen more. Not just reusing the name. Like, give me a proper remake of Metal Gear Solid.
They did. The Twin Snakes remake on GameCube was so good.
Yeah.
And the Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes were extremely good.
Okay.
I haven't played the Resident Evil 4 one, but
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't played it, but like, if it was a remake on GameCube, like, it couldn't have been that much. Like, GameCube was not that far away from PlayStation 1.
yeah, I mean, but GameCube was actually more powerful than the PS2. It just didn't have the same people developing for it.
I mean, it was, but that's still only 1.5 generations away.
At the time,
years.
the difference looked amazing. But of course, you know, like I said to somebody else when I was playing some remake, I think it was Link to the Past. No, Link's Awakening. I was like, this game looks like my imagination made it look when I was a kid. And that's what I truly love about these really good remakes that are happening, is that it makes me feel like I did when I was that kid.
Yeah, fair. Like that. That's cool. We're 20 years in the future now, man. Like, I would really love to see some proper remakes or remasters or what, like, just.
Well, they are doing a full remake of Metal Gear Solid 3. I don't know why they started with 3 for this generation, but it looks beautiful. I have no interest in playing it because Kojima's not involved. And the last time they tried to make a Metal Gear game without Kojima, it was scrotum.
I'm just using that particular one as an example because that was that particular game is one that, like, I loved it. I loved it so much, and I tried to replay it, and the controls are just so fucking bad. Oh, by today's standards, it feels so bad to play.
Yeah, that's what makes the Resident Evil remake so much better. They got rid of the tank controls. Because tank controls I understand that at the time they just didn't know how to do 3D games.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying earlier, is I think they went to 3D polygons too early, but...
Another one that this just makes me sad, actually, that I didn't play it at the time. So, Need for Speed Underground, right? Did you ever play that on the PS2?
I did.
Okay. Everyone talks about how amazing it was, and I bet it was. I didn't play Need for Speed Underground 1 or 2 until after I had played Need for Speed Most Wanted, which was... I don't know I guess it may have been released on the PlayStation 2, given the time frame. Yeah, it probably was PlayStation 2, but it was like later in the generation. And it was so much better. I tried to play Need for Speed Underground. It felt like dog shit. It felt so bad after playing Most Wanted. I couldn't enjoy it. And that sucks because I know it was awesome. Like, just knowing how popular it was and the type of game it was, I hate that I missed it. I hate that I missed it so much because, like, I would have loved it. I bet I would have put 100 hours in it, but I couldn't because I had played better ones. And you can't go back on racing games like that, man.
Racing games and sports games, you just can't go back.
Yeah, like
I played a lot of sports games, but
I probably couldn't go back and play Most Wanted again and enjoy it because I played Forza fucking 5 at this point. And like, I bet Most Wanted sucks, but it was amazing when I played it. The first Need for Speed was amazing when I played it. I remember playing that game going, oh my God, this looks just like a Porsche. These graphics are amazing.
Like I said, the remakes make you feel like you did back then. It's like, this is what my brain thought it was.
Yeah, and look, like, oh my God, it's so bad. It's so bad.
I'll tell you what I was bummed out. Did you ever play Burnout 3? Burnout 3 was an amazing game, especially the crash mode and everything.
So fucking good.
Burnout Paradise was possibly a better game. Maybe the open world racing game. It was cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't anywhere near what I wanted out of that game.
Nope. Same. I had the same problem. I pre-purchased that shit Like that's one of those on the handful of games that I bought brand new that weren't Blizzard games. Yeah, and I hated it. I fucking hated it. That's a game series I really wish would make a comeback. Give me another Burnout game. They're so much fucking fun.
Yeah, because I'm having trouble finding a racing game that I really like. I keep just going back to Mario Kart, but like I don't have an Xbox, so I don't have Forza. I really liked.
You can get on PC.
Yeah, but I
You like to play with the controller on the couch.
well, actually, no. Who's sitting in now? Now I play with a controller. My PlayStation is on my desk, so no, that actually might be what to do. Once I get it back in my budget, I want to sign up for Game Pass again.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Forza Horizon 4 is probably pretty cheap if you catch it on sale. It's better. The graphical improvements aren't that great in Horizon 5 versus 4, and 4 is better.
I played one not too long ago, and I can't remember if it was 4 or 5.
5 was on Game Pass for a while.
Then it might have been 5 because I think it was when I had Game Pass last year.
5's good. 4's better.
Gotcha. I will keep that in mind because I played not Forza Horizons, but Forza Motorsports 2 back in the day,
Yeah,
and I loved that.
those are good, but I prefer the arcade racers. I don't want a racing sim. I want to jump through a donut.
Yeah, I do prefer that. Yeah,
And
that's why I love
well,
Mario Kart.
I enjoy it as well. I just don't play Nintendo games very much. 4 has Legoland. Like you
Nice.
race around in Lego cars.
Yeah, that's what I want.
4's really fun.
All right. Well, on that note, probably time to make it to the Fat Guy Pro Tip of the day. You know, you go and you buy deli meats and all that shit. You're trying to make these nice snacks. Just go ahead, get yourself a nice party tray, from Giant or whatever your local grocery store is, not a sponsor. And just keep that in the fridge. And every now and then you got little crackers, little cheese. So today's Fat Guy Pro Tip is keep a party tray close at hand for budget snacking. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
Y'all have fun.